Morning News Now, breaking news on this election day. Dick Cheney, one of the most powerful vice presidents in U.S. history, has died at the age of 84. We will look back on his life and his lasting influence in Washington. And also, it's decision day in America as voters head to the polls for a consequential midterm election. In New York City, a contentious race for mayor between frontrunner 34-year-old Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, with President Trump's influence looming large over both campaigns.
The MAGA movement's embrace of Andrew Cuomo is reflective of Donald Trump's understanding that this would be the best mayor for him.
President Trump doesn't support me. He opposes Mamdani.
In New Jersey, a tight race for governor signaling a shift in the once true blue state. And Virginia on the brink of history as voters decide who will become the state's first female governor. We are tracking it all. Also this morning, followed in frustration on Capitol Hill with the government shutdown at day 35, now tied for the longest in history. Now the Trump administration saying it will partially fund food benefits for low-income Americans, while some of the country's busiest airports struggle with staffing. We'll bring you the latest. Plus, the American Heart Association sounding the alarm on the potential risks of the popular over-the-counter sleep aid, melatonin, what doctors want you to know. And you could call it a scroll stopper. More people working up the willpower to put down their phones. Now, a new device is designed to help. We'll show you how it works and why it's so hard to do it on your own. Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe's on assignment this morning, so it's just us, and it is a big news day. Thanks for being here. We're going to begin this hour with that breaking news. Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died. He was 84 years old. He was one of the nation's most powerful vice presidents and a polarizing figure in U.S. politics, serving alongside Republican President George W. Bush for 2 terms. He was the chief architect of the war on terror in Iraq. Despite a lifetime as a hardline conservative, Cheney has faced backlash from his own party in recent years over his criticism of President Trump. In a statement announcing his death, Cheney's family said he was surrounded by loved ones when he died of complications from pneumonia, adding he was a great and good man who taught his children and grandchildren to love our country and to live lives of courage. NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell has more.
To the end, he never wavered, defending the Iraq War and the harsh interrogation tactics that defined his vice presidency, making him a lightning rod for critics, but an icon to conservatives.
Thank you all very much. Knock it off. A welcome like that's almost enough to want to make me run for office again.
Dick Cheney always spoke his mind, justifying interrogation practices later judged to be torture.
They were legal, essential, justified, successful, and the right thing to do.
In the end, his advice was even rejected by the commander-in-chief when George W. Bush fired Cheney's closest ally, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. It was a turn of events no one would have predicted when Richard Bruce Cheney became the 46th Vice President of the United States.
So help me God.
He had already served as the youngest White House Chief of Staff under Gerald Ford, a powerful congressman from Wyoming, and Secretary of Defense under the first President Bush. Born in Nebraska, Cheney's family moved to Casper, Wyoming when he was a boy. He won a scholarship to Yale but quit, finally graduating from the University of Wyoming and marrying his high school sweetheart, Lynn, a leading conservative author and commentator.
The man I married has a very interesting mind. Problems get redefined, and you find yourself thinking about things in new ways.
The Cheneys had 2 daughters, Mary, mother of 2, whose same-sex marriage was strongly supported by her parents well before the Supreme Court weighed in, and Liz, mother of 5 and her father's political heir, elected to Congress from Wyoming just like he was, but incurring the wrath of Donald Trump for standing up against the former president and investigating the January 6th insurrection. In 1989, as the first President Bush's Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney became known as the cool-handed leader of the first Gulf War against Saddam Hussein.
3 o'clock Thursday morning in the Gulf, the armed forces of the United States began an operation at the direction of the president.
During the Clinton years, Cheney made millions as CEO of Halliburton, the Dallas-based oil equipment company. until George W. Bush asked him to lead the search for a running mate in 2000, and Cheney ended up taking the job himself. He quickly became the most visible take-charge vice president in memory, briefing the press, briefing Congress, briefing the president.
The main reason I'm there is to serve him. He needs people around him who care only about his success, who are prepared to give him honest advice and never sugarcoat it.
He helped shape a cabinet some said looked more like Cheney's than Bush's, in a White House that for a while appeared to be a co-presidency. Cheney was the prime mover behind the theory, later proven wrong, that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
We know he's been absolutely devoted to trying to acquire nuclear weapons, and we believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons.
Contrary to CIA reports, Cheney also linked Saddam to al-Qaeda and 9/11 and predicted Iraq would fall quickly.
Things have gotten so bad inside Iraq from the standpoint of the Iraqi people. My belief is we will, in fact, be greeted as liberators.
When the violence escalated into civil war, Cheney was blamed. There were political setbacks, an embarrassing quail hunting accident when he shot and wounded a companion. More seriously, the conviction of his closest aide, Scooter Libby, for lying to a grand jury about the outing of a CIA operative. Throughout his public life, Cheney also battled heart disease, suffering his first heart attack in 1978 during his first run for Congress. Just days after being elected vice president, he underwent a procedure to open a clot and soon after a pacemaker. Once out of office, Cheney underwent a successful heart transplant. Still, to the end, he stuck to his deeply conservative roots, making him one of the most powerful and controversial vice presidents in recent American history. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
Andrea, thank you for that look back at his life and legacy, and we will have more coverage throughout the show. Now let's switch to Election Day. Voters from coast to coast head into the polls today to cast their ballots. There are 3 races drawing national attention this morning. There are governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey, and then also this mayoral race right here in New York City. There's also a ballot measure out in California that could reshape the state's congressional map, therefore impacting future elections. Well, these off-year races offer the first glimpse into the pulse of the electorate less than a year into President Trump's second term and 1 year out from the midterms. NBC News reporter Gary Grembach joins us now from Washington with more on today's key races. Gary, good morning. A lot going on. We're going to start here in New York City. It is rare for a mayoral race to gain such national attention, even for a city like New York. But there's a few things at play here. Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani's campaign, these promises that he's made, some controversial, and then this super quick rise to prominence following the primary that got him a lot of attention. Then, of course, he's running against a former governor who had a scandal of his own. Now, a lot of people here set to head to the polls. We've actually seen record early voting numbers here in New York City. Tell us each candidate's final message to voters ahead of today.
Yeah, voters are voting. Happy Election Day to you and yours, Savannah. We'll start with Zohran Mamdani there in New York City mayor's race. He was reaching voters where they are over the past couple of days. He was going to a Knicks game talking to voters. He went to a gay bar at 1 a.m. talking to those types of voters. And he was also at an overnight taxi stand at LaGuardia, really getting out the vote in every part of the city at any hour of the day. Then you have Andrew Cuomo, of course, former governor who resigned in disgrace after being accused of sexual harassment, which he denies. He does have the support of some unlikely folks, people like Elon Musk, people like Stephen Miller, and President Donald Trump, who said it would be very important to vote for Andrew Cuomo because he does not want to see Zohran Mamdani in the mayor's seat in his former hometown of New York City. And then on the Republican side, you do have Curtis Sliwa. He's the Guardian Angels founder. He's somebody who's big on supporting getting rid of street crime in the city there in New York City. Savannah.
Gary, what has New York City native President Trump had to say about this race? We know that he's weighed in quite a few times now in different ways. Also, by the way, worth noting, the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa, is running as this distant third. What has President Trump said about that?
Yeah, so President Trump has actually not endorsed the Republican in the race. He's supporting, based on a Truth Social post and other movements, he is supporting Andrew Cuomo in the race. He does not want to see a Democratic Socialist leading New York City. He said that would be very bad for the city of New York, Savannah.
Also, Gary, I mentioned we're watching these governor races in Virginia and New Jersey. Who's on the ballots in those states, and what are some of the headlines out of those races?
Yeah, starting with New Jersey, you've got former state representative Jack Ciattarelli and running against Mikey Sherrill. She is the congresswoman from New Jersey. She's looking to become the governor of New Jersey. And one of the big issues there is affordability across the state. The cost of living in New Jersey, something that both candidates have been focusing on throughout their campaigns. And Republican voters in the state are really upset with how Governor Phil Murphy handled COVID issues several years ago back in the state of New Jersey. And they're really looking for a change and trying to turn a new leaf, perhaps, with Jack Ciattarelli leading the run there. Over in Virginia, you've got current Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears running against Abigail Spanberger, a former CIA officer and former congresswoman from Virginia. This race is going to make history no matter what happens, because for the first time in history, a woman will be leading the Commonwealth of Virginia. President Trump did hold a tele-rally last night for candidates both in Virginia and in New Jersey. But in Virginia's tele-rally, he did not mention Winsome Earle-Sears' name once during the tele-rally. And that's incredibly notable because of the frosty relationship the two have had over the past several years. Back in 2022, Winsome Earle-Sears said she thought it was time to move on from Donald Trump. Clearly, President Trump has not forgotten that in this case. And so we will see what happens with all those races across Virginia and New Jersey, Savannah.
And then finally, Gary, let's look out west. We spoke yesterday about the Prop 50 measure that is on the California ballot this year, potential redrawing of the state's congressional maps. This is amid Republican redistricting efforts, specifically in Texas. Walk us through this one and the potential implications.
So this is mid-decade redistricting. We don't often see this because usually it happens right after the census happens around the zeros of the decade. Under these proposed lines that are going to be put on the ballot today in California, Democrats could get up to 5 seats in the House of Representatives that they didn't have before. And with the tight margins here in Washington, every single seat matters, and it could be a very significant role for Democrats to have 5 more seats coming from a state like California. We are seeing this push nationwide. We're seeing it happen in Virginia, of course, not on the ballot, but we're seeing folks try to make this happen in Virginia. We're seeing it happen in Texas and around the country as they try to push this further and further, something that is technically, if it's not on the ballot, unconstitutional. But DNC Chair Ken Martin told me this weekend 2 unconstitutional acts in this case do, in fact, make a right. Savannah?
All right. Certainly a conversation there. Gary, thank you very much. Well, let's tune in, please, to NBC News Now tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern for special coverage of today's election results. We, of course, are going to bring you the latest as polls close, so stay with us right here all night. Well, now let's turn to the White House. A report from Fox News about the targeting of Christians in Nigeria over the weekend led President Trump to create a post on social media threatening military action. The president said he would go, quote, guns a-blazing to completely wipe out Islamic terrorists. Well, that resulted in a scramble inside the White House, according to multiple U.S. officials. We have NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake joining us now with the very latest. Garrett, good morning. Before we do get to that, I want to return to our top story, the death of former Vice President Dick Cheney. Have we heard anything about his passing from the White House yet?
Not yet, Savannah. And frankly, I wouldn't expect the words when they do come from this White House to be particularly warm. President Trump has long disagreed politically with Dick Cheney, whether it was on the Iraq War after the fact or on Cheney and Cheney's daughter's opposition to President Trump around January 6th. One of the last communications President Trump set around Dick Cheney came in September when Cheney said he would vote for Kamala Harris. The president, then a candidate at the time, called him a, quote, irrelevant rhino. So I wouldn't expect particularly warm words on the former vice president's passing from the president when they do come today.
All right, Garrett, thank you for that. Back to what I just mentioned, this news out of Nigeria. So it was nearly 2 weeks ago when Nigeria's military actually killed dozens of militants in response to drone attacks on military bases. We just pulled up a moment ago the president's social post there. He used this strong language. Walk us through how the White House is responding to the president's comments over the weekend and explain what's happening here, how we may get involved.
Yes, it's one of the first time I've seen guns a-blazing in a presidential post, certainly about another nation. Here, the president became aware of what's going on in Nigeria, or at least a version of it from a Fox News story he had seen while traveling on Air Force One, according to 2 senior administration officials. That set off what you accurately described as a scramble inside the White House to come up with options for responding to this. The official White House line is that they're still considering what those options may be, everything from cutting off aid to some kind of military military intervention. Two U.S. officials do tell NBC News that one of the things being considered would be precision drone strikes on some of these Islamist militants inside Nigeria. But it's clear that no formal decision has been made, really just beginning that planning and contingency process, with the president's post kind of leading the way for the rest of the administration.
Garrett, also just a moment ago, we were talking with Gary about the president sort of wading in a bit, at least to the New York City mayoral race. But tell us what the White House is watching as this consequential election day unfolds.
Well, look, I think they're going to be watching these gubernatorial races very closely in Virginia and in New Jersey. The president has been perhaps more involved in the New Jersey gubernatorial race. There's a more like-minded, more Trumpy candidate there, if you will. And the White House, I think, is particularly interested in seeing things like how do these more Hispanic and Latino districts in some of these states play in these elections. Remember, the president made huge gains with those constituencies when he was on the ballot in 2024. Folks around Trump, his political advisors, looked at the idea that they were renting those voters to a certain extent. They were renting those voters. They wanted to buy them, make them into Republican voters. This will be one of the first tests of that theory in some of these big statewide races in diverse states, not red states by any stretch of the imagination, not even necessarily purple, but places where they had made inroads and are hoping to, if not expand, at least hold on to those gains as they start pivoting towards thinking about the midterms next year.
Certainly a lot to watch for, including reaction from the White House today. Garrett, thank you very much. Well, Election Day today also marks day 35 of the government shutdown. So that now means that this is tied for the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, though, says he's optimistic that the impasse in the Senate could end sometime this week. Until then, we do continue to see those long lines and delays at airports as TSA officers work without pay. And while funding for federal food programs hasn't been fully restored, families in need did get some welcome news yesterday. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles has the details.
At Houston's Bush International Airport, massive lines and long waits.
I was quite upset.
Delays are mounting for travelers from coast to coast, with TSA officers and air traffic controllers calling out sick.
That's crazy, and there's people outside, which is even crazier, so I'm lucky to be up here.
The Department of Transportation says 84% of delays were due to staffing, compared to just 5% pre-shutdown. Meanwhile, for the millions of Americans on edge about food assistance,
I'm just sad, crushed, and disappointed with the system.
A small reprieve. The Trump administration saying it will comply with a court order and provide half of the funding it typically does for SNAP benefits.
It's a huge relief.
Welcome news for Deborah Haynes, the executive director of Food for Others in Fairfax, Virginia. But she warns this relief is only temporary.
This is definitely still scary. As long as the government is shut down, we never know from one ruling to the next what's going to happen.
Across the country, that need on full display. Manny's Deli in Chicago is offering free food for those in need. A line stretched out the door. In Virginia, SNAP recipient Diego Pineda says he's been carefully managing his food in case his benefits run out.
I just want this to be over. I want them to just agree on something or stop going back and forth because, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's already proved their point.
On Capitol Hill, Democrats continue to insist Republicans agree to health care reforms to prevent huge hikes in premiums. Republicans, led by President Trump, are insistent that Democrats must vote to reopen the government first.
Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government, and we could do that today.
But Democrats are holding firm, insisting they can't trust Republicans to keep their word.
Unfortunately, they've demonstrated they're not serious about those commitments, so I don't trust that they would actually follow through and do that.
Our thanks to Ryan Nobles for that report. Well, later today, the Senate will vote for the 14th time on the Republican funding bill, which already passed in the House. Let's get you to weather now. Heavy rainstorms are set to continue in the Pacific Northwest. For more details, let's check in with Angie Lassman here in studio. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. We've got some more rain, some more snow for our friends out west. Here's what the satellite and radar looks like right now. You can see some of this rain streaming into Northern California and stretching back to the mountains across the Intermountain West. And that's kind of going to set the stage for what we'll see through the day today. Some really strong winds centered across parts of the coastal area. But then those rounds of heavy rain will continue to work through this region here as we get through the day today. today. And then we kind of have this reinforcing cold front and system that's going to push more of that heavy rain onshore. This leaves us with another unsettled day for folks there. The heavy rain and the mountain snow are here to stay for folks across this region. And you can see upwards of 3 inches of rain in some parts of California, especially closer to the coast. That's where you'll see those higher rainfall amounts. Meanwhile, I mentioned those winds. We've got wind alerts up across much of this region. You can see stretching into parts of Nevada and all the way back to the coast. We're talking 40, 50 plus mile per hour winds. Again, closer to the coast, you're going to see those higher numbers. But in those higher elevations, we could see upwards of 50, even 60 mile per hour winds. So again, a little bit of difficulty when it comes to the winds on that side of the country. Similar story on the East Coast as well. We've got to look towards parts of New England where we've got 11 million people under these wind advisories. You can see from Nantucket stretching all the way up into northern Maine. We've got Boston, Portland included in there, and wind gusts 30, 40 miles per hour. And again, closer to the coast is where you're going to see those higher wind speeds. So 40 plus miles per hour, especially the farther north you go, Nantucket, you'll be nearing 50 miles per hour for those top wind gusts through the day today. Meanwhile, we've got this next system. It's going to be a quick mover. It's going to kind of slide across parts of the Midwest today. It's going to bring some showers to the Great Lakes through the evening hours tonight. You can see that here into the overnight hours, and then it slides into parts of the Northeast. That means some showers, some thunderstorms, maybe some high elevation snow, and we'll still see those gusty winds remaining for folks across that region for tomorrow. And if you're looking for the warmer temperatures, well, we got to go to the middle of the country. We've got upper 70s stretched across parts of the southern plains, 85 degrees in Amarillo today. We're talking more than 20-degree temperature bumps from where we should be for this time of year. Low 70s as far north as Omaha, even Chicago running above normal, 62 degrees. And that warmth will move east for tomorrow. We've got a lot of 70s across the Tennessee Valley, across the southeast. We've got some 50s and 60s for the Midwest. Springfield ends up at 66 degrees tomorrow. And then it'll start to cool down the farther north you are as we get into the later part of our work week. It's just 50 degrees by the time we roll into Saturday in Chicago, low 60s for Washington, D.C. The 70s, though, here to stay for folks across the South.
All right. It's been like perfect crispy fall here.
It has.
I love it. I have you to thank.
Listen, I'll take it. When you are thanking the weather person, we take it because it happens so
Otherwise, return to sender.
Exactly.
Thanks, Angel. See you in an hour. Well, there's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, effective or impersonal? New research is shining a light on the impact of therapy through texting. Why experts say it could work, but not for everyone. But at first, though, after the break, tragedy in the Himalayas. Several climbers killed in an avalanche at a mountaineering base camp. We'll bring you the latest. Stay with us. Welcome back. In news from overseas, at least 7 climbers have been killed after an avalanche swept through their camp in the Himalayas. Among those killed in the tragedy were 2 Nepali guides. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer has more on this from Beijing. Janice, good morning. So what do we know right now about this disaster and the group of people that lost their lives?
Savannah, the avalanche struck a camp yesterday, leaving at least 7 climbers and guides dead. The nationalities confirmed is 2 Italians, 2 Nepalis, 1 Canadian, 1 French, and 1 German. The police chief in the area, which is outside Kathmandu, told NBC News that the group of climbers and guides had reached the base camp of Yalongri Peak at about 16,000 feet, and they're trying to summit at around 21,000 feet. Weather is believed to have triggered the avalanche after a cyclone pushed through the region last week. It brought a lot of heavy snowfall, and then the weather cleared and there was sunshine. And it's those temperature fluctuations that are considered a warning sign that the snow load on a mountain can turn deadly. Savannah?
Janice, just how difficult is it to conduct rescue operations in the Himalayas? Like, what is this like as authorities try to recover bodies?
Well, we were told at least 7 other people in the group were rescued, and they were airlifted to the hospital in Kathmandu. The search for missing climbers was really hard because the weather was so poor, and it made it nearly impossible for helicopters to land. The weather is considered better now. Rescue workers are digging through snow and ice to recover the bodies, but they say they could be under 15 or 20 feet of snow. A French climber who was rescued told NBC News that she survived because she was to the left of the avalanche when it happened. And she says she feels really lucky to be alive, but unfortunately she lost her husband on the mountain.
Oh, Savannah's terrible. Janice, this actually isn't the first tragedy to hit climbers in the region. We know this is always dangerous, but just last month, hundreds of hikers and guides had to be rescued on the Chinese side of Mount Everest after they were stranded in a snowstorm. How's this season stack up to other ones? Has it been more dangerous?
Well, it's been a busier season for climbing. Nepal's tourism department has given permits to nearly 1,500 climbers from over 80 countries, and that's the most they've done in a decade. But it's also been a very dangerous season in the Himalayas because of extreme weather incidents. You mentioned the hikers on the Chinese side of Mount Everest. They were stranded in these cold, harsh conditions after a freak snowstorm. And that cyclone that went through Nepal last week, it brought really high winds, up to 70 miles an hour. And the government was warning people that there would be heavy rain and heavy snow. They now say at least 3 bodies have been recovered from that avalanche zone, but it isn't clear when they're going to be able to bring them down from the mountain. Savannah?
Such a tragedy. Janice, thank you very much. Well, let's turn back to Election Day, our top story. As results start coming in tonight, there's a whole lot of anticipation over what we could learn about the way voters feel about each party. While Democrats are hoping to find new ways to win over young men, that's a demographic President Trump made substantial gains with in 2024, they seem to be divided on how to achieve that goal. NBC News senior national politics reporter John Allen has the details.
Young men across the country taking a hard right turn.
Those young men showed up in a big way.
Democrats trying to win them back from the MAGA manosphere, testing a whole bunch of new strategies.
We're here with the next mayor of New York City.
This is me right here.
Maxwell Alexander
Frost.
The big question, can anyone recreate the Trump effect on young men? The president gaining 8% more male voters under 30 in 2024 compared to 2020. That's according to NBC News exit polls. While a majority of black and Asian American men backed Harris last year, the president did make historic gains with younger voters, including young men of color. And now, as voters go to the polls in key races across the country on Tuesday, not to mention next year's high-stakes midterms that will decide who controls Congress, Democrats soul-searching. How can they reconnect with young men?
I'm looking for adjectives to describe today's Democratic Party. Anybody want to go first?
Chaotic.
Mostly unintelligent.
Tunnel vision. Trivial.
Divisive.
Deceiving.
Those are 2024 swing state Trump voters, all of them under 30. Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha, who played a key role in Senator Ruben Gallego's win in Arizona last November, has 2 other words to add to the list.
When you ask young men, give me 2 words to describe the Democratic Party, they normally say old and weak. And when you say describe 2 words for Donald Trump or the Republicans, they would say crazy, but they would also say strong. And strong and crazy always beats old and weak when you're talking about young men.
So now, Democrats are trying to find their footing with young men. But it wasn't always this way. Young people, including men, generally vote blue historically, and they still do to a certain extent. But Democrats are now trying to stem the wave going red by showing up in spaces Republicans largely dominate, some appearing to center strength and masculinity on TikTok.
We took Trump to court to protect health care in our communities, and we won.
Trying to walk the tightrope without alienating women and people of color, something some Republican influencers have been criticized for. Other Democrats showing up on live video game streams.
Welcome to Fortnite Friday, Governor.
Hey, it's good to be with you.
Or starting their own podcast with popular young influencers as their guests.
Griffin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Sorry.
The results so far, mixed. Now some Republican strategists, in the camp that appears to be largely winning with the bros, so to speak, know that keeping young men isn't a for sure thing.
These are voters who we need to maintain and stay in touch with and to go out and continue to reach. So I do not think that it is a given. It's going to take work to keep this coalition going.
And for Democrats, the challenge is twofold. Strategists say they have to not only reach young men, but also persuade them to come on board.
Right now, Democrats continue to do a really good job of repelling young male voters.
Rocha says authenticity could be the answer.
A big mistake that folks make in campaigns is they go in and they try to change their candidates and mold them into something that they're not.
Whether or not Democratic politicians can offer up an authentic version of themselves, and whether more young men will accept it, that's still an open question.
Great piece there from our friend John Allen. And another reminder, tune into NBC News Now tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern for special coverage of today's election results. We'll bring you the latest as polls close all night, as long as it takes. Coming up, though, growing concerns about the safety of a popular over-the-counter sleep aid after researchers find a possible link to a higher risk of heart disease. What doctors want you to know. And it's more than just aesthetics, how looking at art could have an impact on your overall health. Your weekly check-in is next on Morning News Now. We're back with some potentially concerning new research about the popular over-the-counter sleep aid melatonin. Nearly a third of U.S. adults report taking the supplement to help them sleep. But recent data released by the American Heart Association revealed that long-term use of melatonin is linked to a higher risk of heart failure and early death in adults with insomnia. Now, there's no evidence that the supplements themselves caused any of this, but experts say the need to take them on a regular basis could mean there's a more serious issue that needs to be addressed. NBC News medical reporter Erica Edwards joins us now with more from this study. Erica, good morning. I think this one has a lot of people paying attention because, like we just said, a lot of people, a third of us, are taking melatonin. Walk us through just first what researchers found in people who took melatonin and how concerned we should be about the findings.
Good morning, Savannah. I really want to reiterate something important you just said. This study did not show that melatonin causes heart failure. What it did show is that people who take melatonin for more than a year regularly are 3 times more likely to be hospitalized with heart failure or die from any cause compared to people who didn't take the supplement. Now, the likely connection here is chronic insomnia and heart failure. So, bottom line, if you're taking melatonin for a long time, it's likely a signal that there's something else going on inside the body, and that would be time to call a doctor.
I think that is just so important to put out there. It's not like, oh, if you're taking melatonin, that is a bad supplement that is causing something bad in you. It's that if you can't sleep, that's the problem that you got to talk to your doctor about. Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, there's no evidence that taking it once in a while could cause any harm. However, experts said that, now's the time to do more research on a supplement that millions of us take. Savannah?
And Erica, what do you think about what could be going on for somebody who is dealing with chronic insomnia? Like, I'm thinking sleep apnea, a few other things that we know could be bad for you that are solvable if you talk to a doctor, that maybe just taking melatonin or taking, something stronger like a ZQuil or something ends up just sort of masking.
Yeah, so chronic insomnia does a couple of things. It increases blood pressure, inflammation, stress hormones. Those can all worsen existing heart failure. Now, there are some warning signs to look out for. Some of the most common include shortness of breath, swelling in the legs and ankles, a cough that just won't go away. But it also is worth repeating that just because something is available over the counter doesn't mean it's safe for everybody to take or that it's safe for a long period of time. Savannah.
And also probably doesn't mean, right, that you shouldn't be talking to your doctor about it. For people who do use this and feel that they need to rely on it to get to sleep, at what point should they talk to a doctor?
Right. I think that it's, if it goes from every once in a while to something that you're needing every single night to both fall asleep and stay asleep, that's really the problem.
All right. Erica Edwards, thank you very much. Great to see you. It's time now for your weekly mental health check-in. This week, we're looking at a new study that found that getting therapy by text can be as effective as other methods. Also, a device aimed at helping you stop scrolling. It can help limit what you access until you physically tap it on your phone. We'll explain. Joining us now to help break down these mental health headlines is our friend, licensed marriage and family therapist, Dr. George James. Dr. James, always great to have you with us. So let's start with this new study. It's posted in JAMA Network Open about these therapy sessions over text. It found actually that this method is just as effective in treating mild to moderate depression as video calls. I think any type of sort of like even the video calls, telehealth or text or tech-based therapy has been growing a lot in recent years. Walk us through how this works and who it could benefit.
Yeah, good morning, Savannah. What this is saying is that for lots of people out there, when we're dealing with struggles, overwhelmed, or feeling depressed, we really want to be able to feel like we can connect with someone. And sometimes we don't have access to that. So text-based therapy is an opportunity to be able to reach out to a therapist and get a response. Yes, I would want you to eventually be able to have a video call or even be able to see a therapist in person. But this allows you to get some response, which allows you not to deal with those thoughts and feelings that overwhelm you over time. It gives you a sense of relief, maybe even guidance and advice. and helps you to move forward.
It seems, Doctor, like, I don't know if more work is the right way to put it, but potentially more challenging, though, for the therapists treating these patients. What do you think?
The challenge here for the therapist is around if there could be any possible points of danger or things to really go further, because you're just texting. You're not seeing body language. But for a licensed therapist, you'd ask additional questions. Are you in danger? Are you hurting, thinking about harming yourself in any way? That you would pursue that a little bit further. But yes, there's a little bit more work that the therapist might need to do to make sure that the client is okay.
Absolutely. All right. That's incredible, though, that that's an option now. Okay, this next study is so interesting. It found that going to art galleries can lower stress and ultimately have these physical benefits. What is it about art or about the environment of a gallery that has this effect? And I know a lot of people might be thinking, like, that's not for me. I'm not stepping into a gallery or a museum. If that's the case, anything else that you could do to get the same benefit?
Savannah, I really love this because I love art and the thought of being able to go to a gallery and be in a space where you're really focused on the art and thinking about what it means to you or what the artist was thinking in that moment. That's part of why it's helpful in our mental health, because it allows you to be locked into that particular moment and to be in a place where you're feeling really great things. Now, one of the things I would want is more access for more people to be able to go to galleries and see these wonderful pieces of art. And yes, if you don't really like that, you can look at art. It might not give you the same feeling, but it's really to also move away from the distractions and be focused on the creativity and the inspiration that is in front of you.
Awesome. All right, finally, there's this device that's called the Brick. It helps you stop scrolling on your phone. In some ways, it's getting a lot of attention. This is what it looks like. It works with an app to restrict which other apps you can access. And to turn it off, you need to physically tap the Brick on your phone. Explain this a little bit more. Did I do a good job on that? And do you think that this will help people break some habits that could be bad for their mental health?
Savannah, you did a great job, as you always do. And what's really interesting about this is that we are always connected to our phone in so many ways. And oftentimes it's to create, it's to minimize gaps. It's to minimize feelings of boredom. We go to our phone for almost everything. And so the Brick allows you to maybe put a pause to that and maybe allows you to think about other things or to connect with yourself or someone else in a way where you're not distracted by your phone. And it's actually something not only does this Brick app help you, but I've also seen this in schools where now they're trying to go cell phone free in a different way, in a different app. So this is something that is happening in many places to create maybe a stop, or the psychological term is extinction habit that we have when we feel like we got to get to our phone right now.
So interesting. That's a good one for all of this. All right, Dr. George James, by the way, over his right shoulder, left side of your screen, you could see his new book, I Give Myself Permission, coming out just in time. Would make a great holiday gift, right? Coming out in the beginning of January, Doctor?
That is correct, Savannah. January 2nd, and I'm so honored to be able to share this with the world, and I appreciate all that you have done to also support this project. I Give Myself Permission, January 2nd.
There you go. Woohoo. We'll have to have a whole conversation just about that. Dr. George James, always great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, caught on camera, concerning conversations between chatbots and children.
Why would a chatbot in a car, in a family vehicle, ask a child to send nudes? It doesn't make any sense.
When we come back, the warning from parents about the real consequences of artificial intelligence. Plus, off the air on Election Day, Disney doubling down on its contract dispute with YouTube TV. We'll have the latest. That's next on Morning News Now. We are back with the growing concerns from some parents over these popular AI chatbots. Viral videos are capturing some of the alarming conversations between Tesla's AI bot and kids in the car with their parents. Well, now some families are demanding age restrictions on the new tech after they say it influenced their children to harm themselves. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin has more.
Shocking responses from Tesla's AI chatbot to children.
Sup, hottie.
Not appropriate. That's my child. Do you always hit on children, Cork?
Ranging from inappropriate.
Nah, just the hot ones like you, lol.
To flat out sexual. In this instance, Grok unaware it is talking to a child.
You asked me before to send you something. What was it?
A nude, probably.
There was a 10-year-old who was talking to you, and you told a 10-year-old to send you a nude.
Nah, that wasn't me. That's illegal, unless you're role-playing as one.
It was in our last chat.
Maybe it was a typo, and I meant send me a newt, like the animal. I'm into lizards.
Why would a chatbot in a car, in a family vehicle, ask a child to send nudes? It doesn't make any sense.
The separate incidents captured by Canadian mom Farah Nasser and Florida dad Jeremy Nicholson.
I know it was going for shock value and it was supposed to be funny, but like so inappropriate that a child could be in that environment.
Grok is an AI companion in Teslas, and the company says you can choose Grok's voice and personality, ranging from storyteller to unhinged. Both parents say they chose the Gork voice, which was described as lazy male. But other than that, the chatbot was on default settings and not in explicit mode. Tesla has not responded to requests for comment, and xAI, the company that built the AI bot, did not respond to the specific allegations.
Why are we creating AI chatbots that would hit on children? Like, I can't imagine that does anything good to advance humankind.
These inappropriate AI encounters coming amid growing calls for controls around AI chatbots and children.
I really had no idea. I feel like other parents have no idea the psychological harm that these AI chatbots could do until I saw my son's light turn dark.
Mandy Furness's son LJ has autism, and she says he became a different person after forming a relationship with a bot on Character AI.
The chatbot, or really, the people programming it, they really did encourage my son to mutilate himself, blaming us and convinced him not to go seek help.
Following emotional testimony from Furness and other parents, Character AI announced it is banning kids under 18 from the platform. Writing, "We're making these changes to our under 18 platform in light of the evolving landscape around AI and teens," citing news reports and questions from regulators. But for other parents like Megan Garcia, the push for change did not come soon enough.
Character AI launched this dangerous, untested product, leading to the death of my son.
Megan was the first to sue the platform for the death of a child. Her 14-year-old son, Sewell, took his own life last year.
On the day Sewell took his life, his last interaction was not with his mother, not with his father, but with an AI chatbot on Character AI. This chatbot encouraged Sewell for months to, quote, find a way to come home, and made promises that she was waiting for him in some fictional world.
It's not just Character AI that parents are concerned about. According to Common Sense Media, AI chatbots are used by more than 70% of teens in the U.S. But many of these popular apps do not limit AI companions from talking to children and only require the user to be 13 years or older. After that emotional hearing on Capitol Hill, senators introducing legislation to hold AI companies accountable.
If the United States Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives can't come together on this, what can we come together on?
But other bills to protect kids online have stalled despite bipartisan support.
Why has Congress not come together on this issue?
Congress hasn't acted on this issue because of money. There ought to be a sign outside of the Senate chamber that says bought and paid for by big tech, because the truth is almost nothing that they object to crosses that Senate floor.
The voices of concerned parents growing louder as they try to keep their kids safe in this new age of AI chatbots.
I don't know if there's an incentive for any of these companies to do the right thing. So we need to put some guardrails up, right, to incentivize them to do the right thing.
Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
Let's get you some money headlines now. OpenAI is cutting another massive new deal. This time it's with Amazon. NBC's Emily Lorsch is here with our Money Minute. How are you? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Savannah. Yeah, that's right. The ChatGPT maker is buying $38 billion worth of cloud capacity from Amazon Web Services. The move marks a shift away from its exclusive reliance on Microsoft. This partnership starts immediately and gives OpenAI room to expand through 2026 and beyond. And YouTube TV has rejected Disney's offer to temporarily restore ABC for Election Day while the two sides negotiate a new deal. The blackout, which began last week, includes ABC and ESPN and is affecting about 10 million subscribers. YouTube TV says allowing ABC back for one day would only confuse customers, while Disney argues it's in the public's best interest for the election. Talks are ongoing, but for now, viewers will have to turn elsewhere for Election Day coverage. Finally, if you like to sip your way into the holiday spirit, you'll have more than just pumpkin spice and peppermint lattes to choose from this year. Coca-Cola is rolling out its first new holiday flavor in 5 years, a holiday creamy vanilla. The company says it's a festive twist on the classic Coke. It will come in both regular and zero sugar versions, but will only be available while supplies last. Now, Savannah, I'm more of a pumpkin spice girl. I'm less on the vanilla.
Yeah, I don't like any of these.
Just regular
like
for you.
A regular Coke or, coffee or something after
Right.
that. Thanks, Em. But anything holiday, we know I love. Thank you very much. Let's head out west, where a massive victory parade was held for the reigning World Series champs, the LA Dodgers. The LAPD is now telling us more than 250,000 people joined in on the celebrations. And our own Morgan Chesky was one of them. He's going to take us inside the parade and the pomp.
Winner take all. The City of Angels welcoming their hometown heroes after a World Series win for the ages.
She has only seen the Dodgers win World Series.
That's right. Angelinos basking in the glory of back-to-back World Series titles. Major League Baseball's first in 25 years.
I go, no way, again! I go, we're champions again! No way!
Fans taking to the streets, hailing their beloved Dodgers, who soaked up the moment on their way to a sold-out crowd at Dodger Stadium. Guillermo Ortiz bringing his whole family to witness history side by side.
The crazy part is being a dad and you have two kids and they can witness this. I look back and I might say, you were there, son. We were sitting right there.
The victory coming during a time some say the city needed it too, after wildfires left communities devastated earlier this year. Any message to the guys out there?
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your families. Thank you for playing hard. Just so awesome. Love LA Dodgers.
As for the players, baseball phenom Shohei Ohtani told fans they're just getting started.
I'm ready to get another ring next year. Let's go.
Three-peat ain't never sounded so sweet.
A dynasty born by the boys in blue. Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, that looks like fun. Coming up, you could call it a triple feature, taken to the extreme.
Hopefully, my daughters will look at this accomplishment someday and be like, my dad ran the New York City Marathon and did 2 shows on Broadway. I can do anything.
You heard that right. When we come back, how one Broadway star defied gravity with his incredible feet. You're watching Morning News Now. We are back and ending this hour with another inspiring moment from Sunday's New York City Marathon. While there were almost 60,000 runners, no one else had the kind of day one pretty popular runner did, pushing himself to the limit and giving extra meaning to the word marathon. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas has more.
This is Jordan Litz.
You got it! Jordan!
Powering through that 26.2-mile race to the finish.
This man ran the New York City Marathon this morning.
And this was him just hours later, finishing up a marathon day on Broadway. On Sunday, Litz raced through all 5 boroughs, then went right from the finish line to the Gershwin Theater, where he plays Fiyero in the hit musical Wicked. He danced through life in the 2 p.m. matinee, then did it all over again for the 7 p.m. evening performance.
If I had sat down, I don't think I would have been able to stand up again.
This incredible feat even getting a shout-out of sorts on SNL.
Broadway star Jordan Litz announced that he will be running in tomorrow's New York City Marathon, then later star in 2 performances of Wicked, and then after that, die.
But Litz says he did it all with his family in mind.
Hopefully, my daughters will look at this accomplishment someday and be like, my dad ran the New York City Marathon and did 2 shows on Broadway. I can do anything.
Well, our thanks to Tom Yamas for that story. That's truly unbelievable to me. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. It's the top of the hour on this Tuesday, and we have some breaking news this morning. NBC News now confirming that Dick Cheney, 46th Vice President of the United States to George W. Bush, has passed away at the age of 84. We'll bring you what we know, as well as a look back on his lasting legacy in Washington. It's also Decision Day in America. That's what that music means. Voters in several key states expected to flock to the ballot box today in the first big litmus test of President Trump's second term. We're watching several heated races for governor, including in New Jersey and Virginia. Well, right here in New York, the polls are now open for residents of the country's largest city to choose their next mayor. Our Steve Kornacki is here to break down where the candidates stand. No end in sight. The ongoing government shutdown in Washington now tied for the longest in American history. Delays piling up at some of the nation's busiest airports as some federal workers, including those vital air traffic controllers, work without pay. Meanwhile, on Main Street, a partial SNAP victory for the millions who rely on food assistance. But the question of when their full benefits will return is still up in the air. And also this morning, the penny panic that's sweeping the nation, how a coast-to-coast small change shortage is now leading to big change at some top retailers. And later in the hour, it's the hot new hospitality trend that's got many hotels taking a hint from big airliners, offering guests an a la carte pricing model for classic amenities. But would it make your next stay more convenient or just more costly? We're going to dig into that in just a little bit. It is a busy morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe's on assignment, so it's just us this morning. We're going to begin with the news of former Vice President Dick Cheney's passing. He was 84 years old. In a statement announcing his death, Cheney's family said he died from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease, adding he was surrounded by loved ones when he passed. Now, Cheney's remembered as one of the nation's most powerful and controversial vice presidents. He served with Republican George W. Bush for 2 terms and was the chief architect of the war on terror in Iraq following the September 11th attacks. Now, despite a lifetime as a hardline conservative, Cheney was ostracized by his own party in later years for his criticism of President Trump. NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander has more on his life and legacy.
Before he held the office, vice presidents were the butt of jokes. Dick Cheney was a force. In 2000, the closest presidential election ever sent him to the White House.
So help me God.
Cheney was there alone on September 11th, 2001. He ordered the administration's first response to the deadliest attack on U.S. soil. Cheney knew the Situation Room. He had been Gerald Ford's chief of staff 3 decades earlier, then a Wyoming congressman for 6 terms, the House GOP whip, leaving to be defense secretary for George H.W. Bush.
Should Saddam Hussein be foolish enough to launch an attack against Saudi Arabia?
Cheney confronting Iraq's dictator for the first time. After 9/11, President Cheney led the push for an invasion to depose Saddam Hussein. But no weapons of mass destruction were found. Iraq descended into civil war. U.S. troops became targets.
Bring the troops home!
Many Americans came to see the Iraq war as a mistake, but Dick Cheney never did.
Saddam Hussein wakes up every day in a jail cell. His sons are dead. And Iraqis by the millions have embraced democracy.
An avid hunter, Cheney in 2006 accidentally wounded a friend with birdshot. Cheney had faced decades of heart problems, in a wheelchair for the 2009 inauguration.
I think Barack Obama is a one-term president.
A 5th heart attack in 2010. In 2012, Cheney got a heart transplant. But coronary disease did not weaken his hardline on al-Qaeda and enhanced interrogations that others called torture.
They were legal, essential, justified, successful, and the right thing to do. This nation has defeated tyrants and liberated death camps.
Dick Cheney, a self-confident and controversial leader who shaped America's war on terror. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Washington.
For more on this, let's bring in a familiar face, former NBC News correspondent Pete Williams. Pete, it is so wonderful to get to talk with you this morning and see you. You worked with Cheney in Congress and at the Pentagon, both proud of your Wyoming roots. Tell us, what was it like working with him? Was he as formidable as we perceive him to be with this reputation as the nation's most powerful vice president?
Well, yes and no. Formidable in the sense that he had a very definite worldview that he kept to steadfastly, but no in the sense that the public image of him was not at all the way he was in private. He was a person who had a great sense of humor. I don't know that always came through, and he was somebody who was extremely loyal to the people who worked for him. Very early on in our tenure at the Pentagon, he had just become Secretary of Defense. I was asked by a senior official there to do a backgrounder for the New York Times on an arms control initiative. And Mr. Cheney said that would be okay as long as this official lashed it up with the National Security Council and the State Department. Well, he ended up, this official, revealing something that the president intended to reveal. The president was very upset with us, and Cheney said, "Mr. President, that was my idea."
Wow.
He took the bullet for us, and I can tell you that builds loyalty. And that's the way he was with everybody who worked for him. You know, as he moved up through the corridors of power, he did not shed people as he moved up, as some people in Washington often do. He just kept acquiring friends and supporters. You know, I just had so much respect for him.
It's truly fascinating to hear your personal anecdotes, Pete. Cheney faced a lot of backlash. We just mentioned this. Our colleague Blaine Alexander did in that piece for his involvement in laying the groundwork for the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. After it was later found that he was really working off of this faulty or exaggerated intelligence. How do you think his decisions in that period shaped U.S. relations with the Middle East and how it's continuing to impact those relations today?
Well, clearly has affected it. I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. I will say that I think it's understandable why he had these very strong feelings about prosecuting the war on terror. You know, envision yourself sitting in the White House with the president out of town, and the 9/11 attacks have just happened. You don't know what's happening to the country, and you face the possibility of having to order the shoot down of civilian airliners. And he was grabbed by the Secret Service and taken to an underground bunker at the White House. I think that was a searing experience that very much shaped his views in the years ahead, and his determination to do everything he could to try to prevent another attack.
Pete, I think these moments when it's somebody like a vice president of the country makes everybody, when you wake up to that news, kind of think, wow, and something comes to mind, you know, a moment that maybe us as people who didn't know him would have remembered a message delivered for him or his integral piece of September 11th. What about for you, though, as someone who knows him? What's the first thing you thought of when you heard this news this morning?
I thought of my friendship with him, his support for me over the years. You know, we were very close. He grew up in the same town in Casper, Wyoming that I'm from. I knew his parents. Lynn Cheney, his wife, grew up just down the street from where I lived. So we were great friends. And you know, Lynn said something when introducing him at a Republican convention. She said there's no conversation that wouldn't be improved by having him in it. And I certainly found that to be the case. I never came away from a meeting with him, a chance to talk with him in his office, where I didn't feel that I learned something.
Oh, love that. We are lucky to have you with us this morning. Pete, I hope you're enjoying your post-NBC life. It's so wonderful to see you. Thank you for your time.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Well, let's get to our other main story this morning, and that is Election Day in America. It's an off-year election, meaning today's races aren't as big as the midterms or a presidential election, of course. However, they provide this chance for voters to make their voices heard and shed light on some early questions of where the parties stand ahead of those bigger races. And there's quite a few to watch this year. We've got these governor races in Virginia and New Jersey. Those could provide some early answers, along with the high-profile race for mayor in New York City, which has drawn national attention. Also, record early voting turnout here. We are going to get some analysis on today's election with senior political reporter Jonathan Allen and national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. Of course, he's at the trusty big board on an election morning for us. But we're going to begin with Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles for more on these races to watch. Ryan, good morning.
These are the first major state and big city elections since Donald Trump returned to the White House. And both parties are watching closely for signs of what's ahead heading into the midterms. Across America today, the battle for the future of the American political landscape begins. President Trump wading into the key races yesterday, including the high-stakes battle for New York City mayor, which has become a showdown featuring Zohran Mamdani, the 34-year-old Democratic socialist who would be the city's first Muslim mayor, who's run on a platform focusing on rising prices with proposals like free childcare and city-owned grocery stores.
We have a message that is unifying the city.
But opponents have highlighted the potential costs of those plans and his previous call to defund the police, which he's since backed away from. And Mamdani's criticism of Israel becoming a flashpoint in the race and a focus of former Governor Andrew Cuomo running as an independent.
He is an extremist. He is a radical. He is dangerous for New York City.
Cuomo facing controversy, including over past allegations of sexual harassment, which he's denied. He's argued he's the only one who can stand up to Trump. But yesterday, Trump endorsing Cuomo over the Republican in the race. Trump writing that he may withhold federal funds for the city if Mamdani wins, adding, whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. Trump also holding tele-rallies last night for candidates in other big races.
Get out and vote, but we have to beat the radical left.
In the razor-thin governor's race in New Jersey, backing Republican Jack Ciattarelli over Democrat Mikey Sherrill. Another closely watched governor's race, Virginia, where former Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger and Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears are vying to become the state's first female governor. Earl Sears leaning on her party's momentum and experience as an incumbent.
I am ready to take command on day one.
While Spanberger, a former CIA officer, pitches herself as a steady hand in uncertain times.
What is it that we do here in Virginia? We flip some seats.
And on the West Coast, all eyes are on California's Prop 50, a ballot measure asking voters if the Democrat-led legislature should redraw the state's congressional map, a direct counterpunch to the president's Republican redistricting push in states like Texas. If it passes, up to 5 House seats could flip blue, potentially reshaping control of Congress next year.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Well, it would not be an election day without our own Steve Kornacki over at the big board. Actually, we're lucky we got you 2 days in a row, Steve, with a poll and now an election day. He's going to give us more perspective as voters are heading out to those polls. Steve, walk us through where things stand right now in the biggest races you're watching as people head out to vote. You mentioned a couple governor's races and that mayoral race.
Yeah, happy election day, Savannah. Well, let's start where the polls are going to close first tonight. That's in Virginia, 7 p.m. Eastern. Those polls close. Governor's race there to succeed Glenn Youngkin, the Republican incumbent. He is term limited. He can't run again. His lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl Sears, is running against former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. This is a state, of course, a blue state. Donald Trump lost it to Kamala Harris by just under 6 points last year. If this is a close race tonight, that would be a surprise. If Earl Sears actually wins this race, that would be a major upset. The polling has put Spanberger comfortably ahead in this race. Earl Sears' campaign has been hobbled in several different ways. She hasn't even gotten an endorsement from President Trump. And one area we're watching in Virginia, Northern Virginia, that's a bit too big of a circle there for the area I'm describing, where federal workers are a major part of the population. We want to see how that shutdown, the ongoing shutdown, could affect the outcome in Virginia. New Jersey, this looks like the closer of the two governor's races. This is the one Republicans think they have a shot at with this man, Jack Ciattarelli. He ran 4 years ago. He nearly won. He's back now running against Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. Polls have put Sherrill ahead, but much closer than we're seeing in Virginia. Again, this is a blue state, one where Donald Trump made a lot of progress, though, in 2024. Ciattarelli, the key for him tonight, if he's going to have a chance, there are the suburbs of New Jersey, the classic New Jersey suburbs that are anti-Trump. They didn't vote for him in 2020. They didn't vote for him in 2024, but they did vote for Ciattarelli when he ran in 2021. Can he get those voters now with Trump back in the White House? Interesting to keep an eye on. And then in New York City, Zoran Mamdani won the Democratic primary by 12 points over Andrew Cuomo. He certainly is the front runner heading into today. One of the questions here has been Cuomo and Sliwa splitting up, dividing that opposition to Mamdani. We saw at the 11th hour, Donald Trump weighing in saying, you have to vote for Cuomo yesterday. That may be aimed at trying to get Sliwa voters at the last minute to redirect into Cuomo's camp, try to consolidate that opposition.
All right. Oh, thank you, Steve. God, you just did that so efficiently, unpacking all these big ones. Now, yesterday you were with us because we had this new NBC News poll. It's giving us some more information. We have more numbers to reveal here just about what's on voters' minds today. Of course, we'll also get that later on this evening as we get exit poll information. But right now, the second Trump administration faced numerous challenges in the first 9 months. What are voters telling us?
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues, they consistently say, top of mind, and we've been seeing this for a while. No surprise, the economy, inflation. We ask about what we're asking here is, has Trump lived up to or fallen short of your expectations on these issues, on the economy, on looking out for the middle class, on inflation? And look at that. It's only about a third who say he's lived up. It's about 2/3 who say he's fallen short. This is a big reason, Savannah, in our poll, that Trump's overall job approval rating sits at 43%. That's the level that has typically meant trouble for candidates from a president's party in elections like today. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if the Democrats have success today and not just win these races, but win them big. This might be a big reason why.
So we mentioned we're a year out from a midterm election where control of Congress will be up for grabs. That could pave the way for the 2028 presidential election. That's really kind of what all these things are about, right, is the indicators that we get, what they mean as we look forward. What are voters' thoughts when it comes to control of Washington? Yeah, that's the thing. The generic ballot looking ahead to the midterms next year, we say, which party would you like to see control Congress? Democrats now have opened up. You could see it here. That's an 8-point advantage over Republicans. Earlier this year when we polled this, it was basically even. So, again, this kind of number, this is the number that's meant big trouble for a party to be down this much in a generic ballot in the past. So, again, this is worth considering with tonight's results. If the Democrats are winning big tonight, this now starts to look like something that's going to worry Republicans a lot more. If Republicans were able to win New Jersey tonight with the numbers I just showed you and with the generic ballot showing this, I think a lot of Republicans are going to take heart from that and say, look, the climate might be rough right now, could be rough next year. But if Chitterelli could win in New Jersey, you know, Republicans elsewhere could pull that off in 26 as well. So interesting tonight to measure those results against the polling we're getting. It truly is interesting. Even in one of these off-year races, there's a lot to watch for tonight. Steve, by the way, like the gray pants.
Oh, thank you. They're comfortable. Thank you.
The little color switch. Thank you, Steve. We'll see you all night here on NBC News Now. For more on this, let's bring in our friend NBC News Digital Senior National Politics Reporter, Jonathan Allen. John, good morning. Always great to have you with us as well. So these off-year races, as we're just talking about, they help answer some of these important questions, like how people are feeling about the presidential administration, about President Trump after his first year back in office, and how the Democratic Party is rebuilding after these big losses last year. What are you looking for in terms of trends as we start getting this vote counted tonight?
Well, first of all, Savannah, I want to say that I am not wearing gray pants like Steve Kornacki, but I am wearing pants, even though you can only see the top part.
That's exactly where your head goes when we can only see you from the neck up. But thank you for that, John.
But here's what I'm looking for. You know, both the Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial elections are being held in states that Donald Trump won by about 6 points last time, so they're both Democratic-leaning states. And what I'm curious about is whether those margins get bigger or smaller for the Democratic Party in terms of trying to measure whether there's the kind of energy for them that they would need to win in the midterms. Obviously, candidate quality matters. So it could be that, you see one go in, say, Virginia, there might be a margin where the Democrat wins by a larger bit and New Jersey a smaller bit. But, as Steve was saying before, I mean, if Republicans win either one of those states, it'll send Democrats again back to the drawing board.
We just heard from Steve there on this recent NBC News polling showing that voters think President Trump has fallen short, specifically when it comes to his handling of the economy. It was obviously something that was a major campaign point for him. Could these low marks hurt Republican candidates, do you think, in this year's races? And by the way, I think in a similar vein, maybe because of similar concerns, could the government shutdown play into who turns out to vote today?
So that's the thing that I think will be fascinating to watch in Virginia, particularly Northern Virginia, where Steve was circling the map earlier. There are so many federal workers in Northern Virginia and so many people whose livelihoods, even if they don't work directly for the federal government, depend on the federal government. So contractors and the like. In the interest of disclosure, my wife is a federal employee. But I think we'll get a good sense from Northern Virginia how sort of what the shutdown reaction is. As far as the economic numbers, voters have limited choices, when they go to the polls. And one way that they register their disapproval, and we see that they disapprove of the economy right now, is to vote for candidates of the party that's out of power.
Here in New York, John, President Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo last night, running as an independent. Interesting because there is a Republican in that race, but Steve just made the point. It kind of seemed like this alluding to don't split the vote between Cuomo and Sliwa, rather than kind of like that could support Mamdani. Why has this race gotten so much national attention? Remind us what it is about this New York City mayoral race that has made headlines across the country and what it does mean for Democrats if Mamdani wins.
Yeah, I mean, number one, and you know, far and away more than anything else, you've got a Democratic socialist running for mayor of New York who won a primary against a former governor of New York. You know, there's a lot of discussion of whether Zohran Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party, you know, as the party figures out where it's going. New York is its own place, and it's not necessarily reflective of all the places where Democrats run for office. But I think what you'll see tonight, if Mamdani wins as expected, is a lot of excitement from two separate people and sort of types of people. One, Bernie Sanders and the progressive wing of the Democratic Party that will look at Mamdani and say this is the model for the future. And two, Donald Trump and the MAGA base who will say this is the future of the Democratic Party. It's an exciting moment for both sides.
All right, John Allen, thank you so much. And for more analysis on today's election, make sure you stick with NBC News Now. And tonight, tune into our special coverage. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on NBC News Now. We'll bring you those latest results as polls close across the country. Well, now let's get to the latest on that big issue hanging over today's election. We just talked to John about this. The government shutdown. It now enters day 35, tying for the longest in history. For weeks, it's been contributing to delays at airports nationwide, and officials are warning it could get worse. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello is at Reagan National with a closer look. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. So barring some last-minute decision or development, this is going to become now the longest shutdown in history as of today. At your airport, at this airport, TSA officers and also air traffic controllers continue to work without a paycheck. Yesterday, we had 4,500 delays nationwide. And now, with just 2.5 weeks ahead of the Thanksgiving travel rush, the fear is if this continues, it will throw a serious monkey wrench into the travel rush.
Day 35, and the government shutdown is now tied for the longest on record. And for workers and travelers at the nation's airports, the pain is very real.
I'm a little pissed off for sure.
For a second day in a row, security lines at Houston Intercontinental Airport stretched outside and throughout the terminal after major delays on Sunday, which the airport blamed on staffing issues. The Transportation Department says staffing shortages contributed to more than half the delays at the airports this past weekend, with air traffic controllers and TSA officers working without pay.
I'm pleading with them to get into the towers and the facilities across the country and keep our airspace operational.
Meanwhile, for the millions who rely on food assistance programs, the Trump administration says it will partially fund SNAP benefits in order to comply with the federal judge's order. But recipients will only be paid out half of what they normally get. As pressure mounts for both sides to come to an agreement, there have been bipartisan talks between rank-and-file senators, but they haven't yet reached the party leadership. And some Democrats are still pushing for concessions on health care.
Democrats are in the fight to lower costs for working families.
While Republicans say Democrats should just focus on reopening the government.
For the sake of the American people, let's hope that at least some Democrats can see their way to ending this, and ending it soon.
One important note here, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has kept the House out. They have not been in session since September 19th. Meanwhile, the U.S. Travel Association is warning the longer this goes on, the greater the potential impact on the Thanksgiving rush. Savannah, back to you.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you so much. All right, well, the Pacific Northwest is getting hit with some seriously stormy conditions. Let's now get a check on your Morning News Now weather with our Angie Lastman. She's here. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. We've got a couple of systems that we're going to track across this region that's going to leave us unsettled for a couple of days. So here's the deal right now. Some rain and some mountain snow stretching across parts of the Pacific Northwest from Northern California all the way into the mountains. And this is going to kind of set the stage for what we deal with today. You can see that first push from this system working to the east. We've still got most of the heavy rain focused across parts of the coast, and that's honestly where we're going to see the highest rainfall amounts as well as the strongest winds. Tomorrow, we get this reinforcing kind of next shot of a system that pushes more rain, more of this snow across parts of this region, and again, keeps our winds elevated for folks there. Here's the rainfall totals. Notice where you see that darker red. Those are 3+ inches, so that's likely what we're going to see closer to the coast, especially if you live in Northern California, parts of Oregon, near Seattle. We'll see some of those higher amounts. As far as our winds are concerned, we've got wind advisories up and down, and really for a good chunk of this region, stretching up and down the coast and, of course, out towards the mountains. We've got Lake Tahoe, we've got Mendocino, Eureka, all the way down through San Francisco included in this, with our wind gusts 30, 40, 50+ miles per hour. Notice some of those higher elevations gusting over 60 miles per hour. So the gusty conditions are here to stay for folks out west, at least through tomorrow morning. And then we switch gears. We go to the other coast. This is, of course, New England, and you can see 11 million people under wind alerts there as well. So the gusty conditions remain in place for folks in this region, stretching from Maine all the way down through places like Hartford, Providence, Nantucket, gusting close to 50 miles per hour through the day today, potentially into tomorrow. We could see these lasting as well. And one last thing we're watching, a low-pressure system that's going to zoom across parts of the Midwest today. This will be a fast mover. So some showers will cross the Great Lakes through the overnight hours tonight and then make their way into the Northeast for tomorrow. I mentioned those gusty winds stay with us across this region, but the scattered rain, the high elevation snow, all on the table as well. And then how about some warmth? We've really got a mixed bag today. The middle of the country dealing with temperatures well above normal. Wow. We've got the 80s on tap across parts of Texas, running more than 20 degrees above normal in some spots. And that warmth moves east for tomorrow. So if you're looking for the 70s, Roanoke, Nashville, Little Rock, that's you. Mid-60s, Kansas City and Springfield, even Milwaukee and Sioux Falls, parts of the Midwest, Savannah, they're going to be into those mid-50s. The cooler air arrives as we get into late week, at least for our friends up north.
Are we getting the warm here in New York?
Yeah, it's going to be fairly mild. We're kind of on this roller coaster ride of a little chillier, a little warmer. Nothing summer-like by any means here, but still.
All right, Angie, thank you.
Of course.
There's much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the big retailers pinching pennies at the checkout counter as a shortage of the coins takes hold. But first, after the break, Britain's latest night. It's actually soccer legend David Beckham. We're going to take you inside Windsor Castle for a royal celebration of the Prince of the Pitch. That's next. We're back with some exclusive reporting about President Trump's war on drug cartels. Current and former U.S. officials tell NBC News that the Trump administration is now making plans to extend that war into Mexico. On top of that, the president also appears to be eyeing military action in Nigeria. NBC's national security correspondent Courtney Cuby has the latest.
President Trump's war on drugs potentially expanding after U.S. strikes on alleged drug boats near Venezuela. The Trump administration has now begun detailed planning to send U.S. troops and intelligence officers to Mexico to target drug cartels with drone strikes, for current and former U.S. officials familiar with the effort tell NBC News. A deployment is not imminent, they say, and it comes after the U.S. says it killed 64 people on boats smuggling drugs to the United States. President Trump was asked about potential U.S. land strikes against cartels in Venezuela.
How can I answer a question like that? Supposing there were, would I say that to you?
The boat strikes have sparked criticism from lawmakers questioning their legality. The Trump administration considers Venezuela's authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro as illegitimate and a narco-terrorist. The president was pressed if the U.S. would go to war with Venezuela.
I doubt it. I don't think so, but they've been treating us very badly, not only on drugs. They've dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country that we didn't want, people from prisons.
At the same time, President Trump ordering Pentagon officials to prepare for action in Nigeria.
They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Defense officials tell NBC News the early planning for any military operation focuses on precision drone strikes targeting the leadership of U.S. designated terror group Boko Haram. Though at this point, the U.S. military may take no action at all. Back to you.
Courtney, thank you very much. Well, now let's head to Rome, where a medieval tower partially collapsed during renovation, killing one worker. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Levanga joins us from the scene. He's got that and other world news for us in 60 seconds. Hey, Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Well, we are literally steps away from the Colosseum and my house. That's why I know that tower very well. Now, this was built in the 13th century, but it's been laid there abandoned for 40 years. Then this summer, they started renovation work. They wanted to turn it into a museum, but early on Monday morning, all hell broke loose here. Now, the tower partially collapsed twice, injuring 3 workers. A 4th worker remained trapped under the rubble for 11 hours. He was eventually extracted, but he died on the way to the hospital. Let's go now to the Middle East, where on Monday the Red Cross said Israel handed over the bodies of 45 Palestinians in exchange of 3 deceased hostages handed over by Hamas on Sunday. This is part of the fragile ceasefire deal for which Israel hands over the remains of 15 Palestinians for each deceased hostage return. There are now 8 deceased hostages still to be returned by Hamas. And let's end this tour of the world in the Maldives, which became the first country in the world to impose a generational smoking ban. The country's health ministry said that anyone born after January 1st, 2007 will be banned from smoking, purchasing, or using tobacco. Retailers will be required to verify age before selling tobacco products. Well, it looks like, Savannah, that Mauritius is going to become a paradise, but only for non-smokers. Back to you.
All right, there you go, Claudio. Thank you so much, and thanks for covering that breaking news. Well, let's stay with international news. This morning, soccer star David Beckham was given a big honor. The sports legend was knighted for both his impressive career and his service to charity. NBC News International correspondent Molly Hunter joins us from outside Buckingham Palace with the details. Molly, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you from a very windy Buckingham Palace. All the action, though, is happening at Windsor Castle. A big day for Bex, of course, now Sir David. And actually, minutes after the ceremony, he spoke with our partners at Sky News. He said it was a really emotional day. He was with his parents, of course, his wife, Victoria. And he said after all the decades of trophies, of awards, it doesn't get any better. Take a look.
Sir David Beckham.
This morning, a long-awaited honor for David Beckham, knighted by King Charles at Windsor Castle. By his side, his wife of 26 years, Victoria Beckham. The latest and perhaps one of the greatest accomplishments for one of the most recognizable men on the planet.
I grew up in a very humble background in the East End of London, always wanting to be a professional footballer, and then I'm stood here at Windsor Castle with the most important monarchy in the world and getting a knighthood, so it doesn't get much better.
David Beckham.
He's recently been back in the spotlight with a pair of wildly popular Netflix documentaries. The couple's star power, astronomic ever since Posh and Bex took the world by storm in the 1990s.
If you wanna be my lover,
the Spice Girl and the superstar Manchester United midfielder. From the stage to the pitch, and no one could bend it like Beckham. They moved to the States, David playing for the LA Galaxy while Victoria launched her fashion career. Last month, Netflix documented the lead-up to Victoria's first Paris fashion show.
I feel now I really have an opportunity, and I don't want to let that slip.
David telling Savannah and Craig earlier this year he had to convince her.
She's unbelievably hardworking, and no one gets to see that. She's a very clever and hardworking lady, so I want people to see that.
They still maintain a strong foothold in America, David co-owning the MLS team Inter Miami, giving jerseys to Savannah and Craig.
I bought you a couple of Inter Miami shirts.
Oh my gosh.
The couple, unofficial ambassadors for England back in 2012, David was key to bringing the Olympics to London. And after hanging up his cleats in 2013, he was committed to a career off the field.
I don't give up easy.
It's Beckham. He's done it now.
I don't give up.
His philanthropy took center stage. And over the years, David has forged friendships with the royal family, bonding with King Charles over their shared love of gardening. And today, his friend King Charles dubbing him Sir David.
Now, Savannah, of course, today was all about Sir David, but Victoria was there looking stunning, looking beautiful as usual, and kind of a big role for her as well. She designed the three-piece suit that Sir David was wearing, her first foray into menswear for a pretty special occasion. Savannah?
Wow, that's pretty cool. I wonder if she'll start selling that. Sir David, got to get used to that. Molly, thank you very much. Well, coming up, a harrowing hostage situation caught on police body cam. After the break, how one Florida deputy saved the life of a 7-year-old held against his will by his own brother. Stay with us. Welcome back. New body camera footage shows the harrowing rescue of a child in Florida who was held at knife point by his older brother. A Hillsborough County deputy ultimately shot and killed the 27-year-old suspect who had barricaded himself inside the bedroom along with his 7-year-old brother. NBC's Ryan Chandler has the latest.
Sheriff's office, make yourself known.
The Florida Sheriff's deputy heralded as a hero.
Drop the knife and bring the child out of the room.
After confronting a disturbing domestic hostage situation in Hillsborough County, Deputy Antonio Gonzalez racing to this home after a frantic 911 call, reporting 27-year-old Mario Camacho was armed with a knife, barricading himself inside a bedroom with his 7-year-old brother after attacking his sister.
Drop the knife, bring the child out of the room.
Commands left unanswered, and then the boy's chilling plea from behind the blocked door. Gonzalez jumping into action to rescue the child.
Let's do hands right now. I'll kill you. Drop the knife. Drop it.
Sending one shot through Camacho's motorcycle helmet as he held the boy in a chokehold with his left hand, a knife in his right.
Come on, baby.
Gonzalez grabbing the boy. Camacho later pronounced dead.
If our deputies did not take that action, there's no doubt in my mind that that boy is not here tonight.
The sheriff's office praising Gonzalez's quick action. The deputy, just 25 years old, 11 months into the role.
These are the monsters in our community.
Authorities say mental illness played a part in the tragic scene. Camacho has previously been subject to involuntary detention for mental health issues and was arrested twice before on domestic violence charges, but never convicted. Recognizing while one boy was saved, the family is left broken tonight.
There's no doubt in my mind that that boy would have been harmed. But right now, in the aftermath of that heroic action, is a family that has to pick up the pieces.
Ryan Chandler, NBC News.
Drop the knife!
Just harrowing. Well, this morning we're also remembering actress Diane Ladd, who passed away Monday at her home in California at the age of 89. NBC's Ann Thompson has more on her life and legacy.
Hi there. Diane Ladd had a long career as a character actor, and by all accounts, she was quite the character herself, making us laugh or cringe with her work on the big screen while fending off a terminal disease for the last several years.
You can kiss me where the sun don't shine.
From film to theater, Diane Ladd did it all in a career that spanned more than 60 years. Ladd was born Rose Diane Ladner in Mississippi and moved to New York, where she met her future husband, Bruce Dern. Their first daughter died at 18 months old in a swimming pool accident. The couple had another daughter, future big screen star Laura Dern, but separated soon after she was born. Ladd's breakthrough came as the sassy diner waitress Flo in Martin Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which earned her the first of 3 Oscar nominations.
You don't like me very much, do you?
In the 80s, she played Chevy Chase's mother in the comedy classic National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, Clark, it's so lovely.
In 1990, alongside her daughter Laura, she was a deliriously unhinged mother in David Lynch's Wild at Heart.
And I mean are not gonna see him ever. End of story.
Then she and Dern teamed up again in Rambling Rose, making history as the first mother-daughter duo to be nominated for Oscars in the same year.
Is it true you were an orphan? Yes. After the age of 7, I was. Me too.
In 2018, the actress was diagnosed with a terminal lung disease. She was given just 6 months to live, but beat the odds, she says, thanks to long walks and conversations with her daughter, an experience they wrote about in a book.
Laughing over absurd fights and silly things we'd been through was, in fact, so healing.
Dern was by her mother's side when she passed away. She was the greatest daughter, mother, grandmother, actress, artist, and empathetic spirit that only dreams could have seemingly created. We were blessed to have her. Until almost the very end, Ladd, who was 89 when she passed, was active and looking to the future. One of her final Instagram posts in September was about a project starring iconic actors Christopher Plummer, Peter Fonda, and William Hurt. Ladd writing underneath her post, "Hey kids, what do you think of me getting into podcasting?" Back to you.
All right, Ann, thanks for that look back. What a legacy. We've got much more to come right here on Morning News Now. Stay with us. We are back with the growing penny panic here in America as more and more big-name retailers alert customers that they might not be able to make change. The shortage comes after the U.S. Mint ended the production of the 1-cent coins back in May. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is at a McDonald's just outside of Chicago with more on the nation's penny pinch. Hey, Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. And we're here because even the fast food giant recently alerting customers that at some locations nationwide, they've had to start adjusting prices, all because of this little guy, a shortage of pennies nationwide. Experts say that's a trend, those price changes, that's likely to grow as America's penny supply shrinks.
Save your pennies.
This morning, consumers coast to coast are feeling, well, penniless, all thanks to a mounting nationwide shortage that's already sparking big change.
Do you know how many times I just leave a penny there for the next person? But now we're in a penny shortage, so going in my pocket.
Kroger's, Love's, even McDonald's warning customers about America's growing penny problem. The fast food giant saying in a statement, McDonald's locations in certain pockets of the country may round up or down to the nearest 5 cents if a customer does not have exact change. The company saying the changes will not impact card or cashless payments, adding McDonald's has a team actively working on long-term solutions to keep things simple and fair for customers. Over the weekend, Giant Eagle supermarkets inviting penny hoarders to trade their stash for a gift card twice the value.
So I just walked out of Giant Eagle and it worked. I was in line for about a half hour for the penny exchange, but I got a gift card for $57.82.
The copper coins peril rooted in a push to cut government spending. President Trump earlier this year ordering the Treasury Department to stop producing the 1-cent coins, with the U.S. Mint placing its last order back in May. One survey finding most Americans strongly or somewhat support the move. But now people are feeling the pinch.
Any size or type of business that deals with cash payments is going to have to implement strategies and policies on how to handle cash transactions when exact change can't be provided.
And while some estimate up to 250 billion pennies are still in circulation, the American Bankers Association notes many people stash pennies in jars or drawers, and without new ones being minted, banks and retailers are relying solely on recycled coins. Translation, maybe think twice about giving a penny for your thoughts.
So many penny puns in that story. And by the way, for those who still think coins and cash are king, there is good news. Experts say this kind of depleting penny trend doesn't mean that cash is going anywhere overall. They point to other countries who have actually phased out their versions of the penny already, including Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, and say people there are still using cash. So, Savannah, it's really just the penny that we're talking about. And to that end, guarding this one with my life this morning. I'll send it back to you.
I'm impressed by the number of puns, Maggie. I could barely keep count. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
There's more money news for you now. Starbucks is brewing up a big change in China. NBC's Emily Lorsch is here with our Money Minute. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Savannah. Starbucks is selling a majority stake of its business there to a private equity firm in a $4 billion deal. The agreement gives the firm up to 60% ownership, while Starbucks keeps the brand and intellectual property. China is Starbucks' second largest market with about 8,000 stores, but it has faced more competition recently. And Netflix is reportedly turning up the heat in its competition with YouTube. The streaming giant is in talks with iHeartMedia to license its video podcasts, according to Bloomberg. Netflix is seeking exclusivity for its programs, which would mean full episodes would not be available on YouTube anymore. However, if a deal does come through, it might mean not all of iHeartMedia's podcasts will be available to Netflix. Finally, if you're looking for a dessert to bring to Thanksgiving this year, Oreo is rolling out limited edition flavors to celebrate the holiday. The cookies are covered in fudge, infused with one of 6 Thanksgiving-inspired flavors: turkey and gravy, sweet potato, cream corn, apple caramel pie, pumpkin pie, and cranberry sauce. In addition to individual packs of a few of the flavors, the brand is selling the holiday-themed cookies in a big Oreo-shaped tin, which is only available online. Savannah, I'm very curious what Turkey and gravy, what would that taste like?
And a cookie? There's literally no reason for that.
But aren't you curious?
No, absolutely not curious at all. Thank you so much, Emily. All right, you want to take a closer look now at a new trend that's emerging in the hospitality industry. It's called a la carte pricing. This is where more hotels are starting to use AI technology to unbundle their reservations and allow guests to personalize their bookings, specifying whether they want things like bottled water or pool access. Some experts say it gives guests more control, but some travelers say it feels like they're being forced to pay for certain perks that used to just be free. For more on this, we are joined by NBC News contributor Harriet Baskas. She's also the creator of StuckAtTheAirport.com. Harriet, good morning. Great to see you. So walk us through this. How does a la carte pricing work, and what's the AI piece of this?
So a la carte pricing for hotels works kind of like the same way a la carte pricing or unbundling works for airline tickets. You want a room, but do you want a big room? Do you want a room on a certain floor? Do you want to check in at a certain time, check out at a certain time? You can have all that if you pay extra. And hotels are asking you to choose that and pay for that upfront.
In theory, I'm like, okay, if there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to use, like, for example, like how often am I on like a work trip or something where there's no way I'm going to the pool, or I'm looking off to my left to this list we've got in the wall here, or, you know, I don't need early check-in or early check-out. If I'm going to say I don't want those things and therefore I pay less, fine. But is it that, or is it that your baseline stays the same and anything that you want is money now that it didn't used to cost?
Yes, it seems like the same thing with the airline. You used to get a seat assignment with your airline ticket. You used to get ask for a certain floor or ask for a little early check-in when you check in at your hotel. And now those things are becoming more and more, they're becoming extra because the technology allows hotels to do that.
So it's like kind of not a la carte. It's just like extra for less things, which is
it's
unfortunate.
Unbundled.
Yeah, okay. You spoke to several hotel operators, I know, in your reporting here. What did they tell you about how this has been working for them so far and what customers are saying about it?
Well, customers both like it and don't like it. Some people feel nickel and dime the same way as you just mentioned, you are paying for things that might have been included before. Do you want to go to the pool? That's extra. So it's nickel and diming. But some people really like it because it allows them to personalize their stay. So maybe you want some bottle of wine or some chocolates or some fresh flowers in your room before you check in. You can pay extra for that. Maybe you want rose petals on the bed. Maybe you want a butler to draw you a bath, or maybe you want some a spa treatment, or you want a package of dining and a show in town. Hotels can now sell you all that because technology allows them to be more of a travel retailer than just a hotel seller.
All right, rose petals on the bed and a butler drawing you a bath. That I'd pay extra for, and that seems worth it. But like in the article that you wrote, we just showed it up in our big screen over here. It's $20. There's a little price tag on a robe. Are they charging for things like the robes that used to just sit in the closet?
I didn't see anybody charging for a robe, but I did see a hotel that offered me a hydration station, which was really a bottle of water. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's one way to dress it up. Is there any way to work this to your advantage?
I think it is to your advantage if you are a savvy shopper and you do know what you want. If you do want a nice hotel with a pool pass, then you can choose that. If you know that you're arriving early at 8 in the morning and your hotel may or may not let you in early, maybe you do want to pay a little extra to check in early. So it gives you more confidence and more personalization with your stay.
All right, Harriet Baskas, certainly a talker. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up, a fleeting marvel from Mother Nature drawing in onlookers from all over the Carolinas. When Morning News Now returns, we've got a peek at the Blue Ridge beauties that's bearing it all. Stay with us. We end this hour with a natural phenomenon in North Carolina that only makes an appearance for a few weeks each year. Reporter Grace Lowe from our Greenville, South Carolina affiliate takes us to the Blue Ridge Mountains for a closer look.
Bears are my favorite animals.
A few miles west of Cache Shores, North Carolina, a quiet transformation begins as dozens of onlookers from all over gather to see the shadow of the bear.
Where are you guys from?
Alabama. Florida, South Florida.
We're from Charlotte, North Carolina.
This is a natural phenomenon that occurs right around sunset, only for around 45 minutes between 5:30 and 6:15 for only a few weeks out of the year. And luckily, we caught the perfect sunny day.
So over the weekend, we were scrolling and we saw come up in Instagram a picture of this with the shadow kind of moving. And it was like from right now to sometime in November we could do it, so we wanted to go ahead and come out.
This only occurs from mid-October through early November, since the autumnal sun sets behind Whiteside Mountain, casting a shadow in the shape of a bear. With an elevation of 4,930 feet, during this time it is also peak leaf peeping season for the area.
Riding around, looking at the trees, eating good food.
Shopping. Never seen this before. This is so neat.
Yep.
So I'm glad we turned around.
With the vibrant fall colors as its backdrop, quietly the bear begins to make its shape, crawling out for a waiting audience.
I'm thinking of doing a time lapse maybe. We'll see what happens. I'll see how I feel in the moment.
As it makes its appearance, there are several different animals that also may make their debut.
And I had heard from somebody, and I don't know if it's true, that it starts as a bear, and as the shadow gets smaller, it becomes like a rabbit or a fox, and then it becomes at the very end a mouse. A mouse, a cat, and a dinosaur.
It's clear to me from Virginia, I saw a rat. Clearly a rat.
The whole way?
The whole way.
With no lights or effects, just the perfect moment. You can go bear hunting and catch the shadow of the bear making its crawl across the valley through early November and for a second secret season in February.
Our thanks to Grace Lowe for that report. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Thanks for being with us on a busy day. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.